All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And continuing on, writing some Java programs to kind of go along with the book. The Gaddis, starting out with Java Early Objects, 5th edition. I'm on about my 11th or 12th or 13th program, I'm not sure. But this program was meant to go over some of the principles in Chapter 8. Oops. And what I'm going to do here very quickly is I want to be able to go in here and grab that comment that I put in there and copy it over to this program. So, copy. I'm going to have to change it because this is not a payroll program, but I like to have some comments. So, this is our, what did we say? Hello World was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th, if I'm counting right. This is our 13th program, not payroll program, demonstrating the use of character-based demonstrating the use of character-based methods taken from Chapter 8 of our Gaddis textbook. All right, so the first thing we're doing in here is we are importing, you've seen this many times now, we are importing javax.swing.joption pane, which is used for our show input dialog and our show message dialog. All right. I called it palindrome, and I called both the project, well, I guess the project is Chapter 8 palindrome, and the thing itself is called palindrome. Okay? Now that I see this, trying to be consistent here, but I wrote this kind of at the end of the day yesterday. No excuse. All right, I really should have done all this. And I didn't. And I've said this to you before, this is not what I'd call any kind of great documentation. Oops. By no means is this great documentation, but at least I'm putting some documentation in. And as I've mentioned to you previously, anyone who says to you, and I have worked for bosses like this, who have said, don't worry about writing any documentation, we'll do that when we're all done. You typically don't, because then it's time to go and move on to another project. All right, and again, people, we live in a world in many ways that's full of people with good intentions, but things just don't happen. All right, almost done here. Oops. And I think this is the last one. Nope. Yeah, that was right. All right, that is everything. Okay, so our class is palindrome, so here's our class header. Here's our method header. I don't have to go over those. We've gone through those umpteen times. This will be my output string that's used, as it says, with the show message dialog. This is the input. So that's what we're going to originally input for the string to see if it's the same forwards and backwards. That's what a palindrome is. A palindrome, a word that is the same forwards and backwards program, demonstrating the use of this is our 13th program, a palindrome. I don't know if it's a pain to add stuff to the dictionary here, but a word that is the same forwards and backwards program demonstrating the use of character-based methods taken from Chapter 8. Good. All right. I have a new kind of variable here called a string builder. What you can do with a string builder is that you can add things to a string as the program is running. It's kind of an elastic string. Typically it's what's called a mutable string. A regular string is immutable, meaning that once you set it, if you change its value, literally that change value is put somewhere else in memory. That's not the case with a string builder. If I'm confusing you, please go back. Point lectures and these programs are not meant to replace your book. They're meant to supplement what's in the book. So here's the original input. That's just the letters. Here's the original input reversed. Here I'm going to ask the user, do they want to do it again? And I asked for a Y or an N, but they might put more than that. Here's just the first character of what they put back. And here's a variable called run again. This is a Boolean variable. Sometimes these are called flags, so I could have called it run again flag. Or sometimes just run flag. That might have been better. In fact, I'm going to change that from run again to run flag. I like that better. All right, so there's our run flag. While it's true, so remember this is a shortcut. So this is the same as while run flag equal true. It's the same thing, but it's less code. It's a shortcut, so virtually 100% of developers I know do it like this and not like this. So while it's true, we tell you please enter the string. In fact, let's run it again. All right. So please enter a string, and I will tell the \n you whether or not said string is or is not \n for a new line a palindrome, same forwards and backwards. So that right there is this right here. So we just say, okay, we've got our output string, and fill it. That becomes the input string. So input string is everything that you see right there. All right, all that text. Then, so let's say that I come in here and I put in hello world. Well, you can tell by looking at, whoops, and I didn't spell it correctly. You can tell by looking at it that won't be a palindrome because it starts with an H and it ends with a D, so there's no way. But what this does right here is this code that you see right there. That code, oops, that code goes through, I was trying to bring that back again. It goes through everything that we just inputted right there, all of that. It goes through it, All right. And while it goes through it, it checks or it pulls out, for lack of better verbiage, anything that's not numeric. Why? Because when I'm checking here, you can check for a numeric palindrome, and a numeric palindrome is a number that's the same forward and backwards. I'm checking, and I wanted to use the stuff from Chapter 8, so I'm saying if it's a letter, I'm appending it to this new string builder that I'm object. All right? Called SB. So I'm adding it. So in other words, when I ran this, you've got to kind of look at it this way. Let's assume that I put in, let's just assume for a second that my input looks like this. Let's say that it's 1, 2, 3, space, 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 comma, 5, T, H, space, space, T. That would be a palindrome. Because what I'm going to pluck off of there is I get rid of the 1, 2, 3. I get rid of all that. So I now have this, and I get rid of that blank space. So when I get done, that's what's in the string builder. Just the THT. Then I convert that string builder to a string. All right, then I reverse it. So it's, that's the original now, and the reversed looks like this. All right. Then I make both of them all uppercase, so I'm comparing apples with apples. So the first one is THT, and the second one, THT. All right, then I come in there and I compare them. All right, but just to be sure, I'm saying ignore the case anyway. And remember, it's the dot equals, but it's dot equals ignore case here. So I'm comparing the original string, from which I have plucked out only the letters, with the reverse of that, because I called reverse right there. And if they're the same, I print out the string is a palindrome. If they're not, I print out the string is not a palindrome. Then I ask the user, do you want to run the program again? So you'll notice if I run this, and I put in here a Toyota. All right, and it comes back and it says the string, I guess, I thought I put an in there before. Yeah, I want to run it again. So let's just do it. Toyota. Toyota. And it says that is a palindrome. All right, so that's what it's comparing. Now it says run program again. That run program again is this line right here. And whatever I put in there, so I'm going to type in here, yes, please. All right. This says just grab that first character and convert it to uppercase. So just grab this, which is a Y, and make it an uppercase Y. So it says here, if it's not an uppercase Y, just give me a dialog that says normal program termination and get out. Otherwise, clear out our inputs, send it back up to here, and ask you to enter a new value. So notice, boom, it says enter a new value. Now if I put Bob, which is a palindrome, it says Bob is a palindrome. But if I say Mary, which is not a palindrome, it says is not a palindrome. So you really should have some test cases when you're doing this and compare what's in there. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention, and then I'm finished. Okay? And that is, you may or may not have noticed this because I kind of ran through it quickly, but every time when we come through here and we say File, New, Java Project, and we create a new Java project there, that becomes the equivalent of a new folder in here. All right? And that's what we've been doing. Then when we get done, we've been opening that up, and what that does is it creates this. It creates a blank folder that's called source and another one that's called JRE, System Library. That JRE is an acronym that stands for Java runtime environment. And it's got a bunch of zip files. In Java, when you zip files, you zip them into what are called jar files. And jar is an acronym that stands for Java Archive. All right? And these zip files contain possible program resources that your program may need. So they're freebies, for lack of better words. Your program's bigger, but you get to use those. Then we came in and we right mouse clicked on here and we chose new and we went over to class. All right, we put in our class where we may or may not have added a main. That created then this file. Now you'll notice here it says default package. And I have not created packages yet because we haven't talked about packages. I think it's in one of the chapters coming up. It could be 9, I don't remember. But if we create a new project, the way you typically would do this, it's not the way I've done it thus far. So let me close everything that's open. And I'm going to just create a dummy project right now. So I'm going to say File, New, Java Project, and I'm going to literally call it what it is. It's a dummy project. All right, and I'm going to click Finish. Now, in the past, when we've had this dummy project, we right mouse click in here, do a new, and do a class. What most Java developers do when they're creating programs in Eclipse is instead of doing a new class, they do a new package. And they create their own package. Package is typically going to be the same name as your email address or whatever, but in reverse notation. So since mine is jscott@rankin.edu or jpscott@rankin.edu, and you don't use the @ sign, I say edu.rankin.jscott. All right, so that's creating a new package. Don't worry for right now about what a package is. I just wanted you to see this. So if I create Finish, now notice underneath here that instead of saying default package, which is what every one of these says, default package, default, okay, made me a liar. Default package, 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 default package. Now notice this one. This is one we just did, which is the default package, but our dummy project, edu.rankin.jscott. Now if I come in here, right mouse click and choose new and choose class, and I'm just going to call this dummy class. Oops. And we'll put in here, I'm going to remove this file because that's one more thing I want to show you. Look, if you look at what's in here, we could make this public package. We're just going to leave it the way it is, but I'll put a main in there. But I want you to notice something. I now have a new line at the top of my program. Writing stuff in packages is a good idea. So far, we've been using what's called the default packages. Default package, I should say. But more often than not, programmers create their own package. And we will talk about what that is in a later chapter. Now I'm going to close this, and what I want to show you is I don't want this anymore. This was just for demonstration purposes. So if I right mouse click on here and I choose delete, this is what I want to show you. I've got my choice in how I delete this. If I leave it the way it is, all right, and if I click OK, it will remove it from here, but it'll still be on my disk. All right, so it'll still be in the actual folder that holds this. okay, but it won't be shown on here. If I want to permanently remove this from here and from the disk, I create, and I want to, let me see if I can show it to you this way. This is my Java folder where I've been creating all this stuff. So this is what I have here so far. And these are the ones that we did the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These are the 15 that I've written so far for the class. There's some other ones in there. It creates this metadata, and it might have created this recommenders. I don't know. It looks like it did. But don't remove those. Those are just system folders and files. All right? But you'll notice the dummy project is here, and it's got in there my settings. I think I can look at this using Notepad++. That's just where, these are just system things that Eclipse needs. I don't know what all of them are, to be honest with you. All right. And here's our bin. And if we go far enough in here, that's our class file. All right. Remember I told you that when the Java compiles, then it interprets. When it compiles, that's the class file that it compiled to. We've got our source, and that's our Java file. That's exactly what we just looked at. Boom. There's our class path. I think we can look at that too. And again, this is an XML file that's got stuff that Eclipse needs internally to do what it has to do. And finally, we've got this project file, which is another XML file. You should never jack with any of those files. But what I wanted to show you is I want to show you right now is what I want to do is come in here, right mouse click, choose delete, and if I click this and click OK, it's gone. All right. Before I do that, one last thing I want to show you. If I decide I want to come in here and I right mouse click, all right, and I decide that, boy, I really wish I would have named this something else. Dummy sounds kind of derogatory. All right. Well, you can come in here and there's no rename, but there is something called refactor rename. So if I want to change that from dummy project to just, how about example project? All right, and I click OK. See how it changed the name? Not only did it change that name, but it changed the name of any of those internal files that I just showed you that Eclipse needs. Now let's just get rid of this. So I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to go to delete. And again, delete project on disk. Notice cannot be undone. I click OK. In fact, before I do this, one last thing, I'm sorry, is I want to come out here to my Java folder, and notice now there is no dummy project, there's just example project. I could remove it from here just by highlighting it and hitting delete. That's not recommended. What's recommended is that we do it this way. Right mouse click, delete, remove from disk, cannot be undone, OK. It's gone from there. And if I bring it up here, oops, that's not it. If I bring it up here under my Java folder, it's gone from there as well. All right, so that's just a few things that I wanted to show you kind of quickly. All right, and what we have left then, just to give you a little preview, all right, is we have now in this book gone through the first 8 chapters. So we did our intro chapter, that was our Hello World. We did our Java fundamentals, which had our scanner project and our message dialog. We had our payroll program that used classes, our payroll program with an if, 2 payroll programs, one that used loops only, one that used loops and files. We went back and did some overloading in the chapter 6. We had 3 programs in chapter 7. One which was the payroll program extended with arrays, one which was a simple array program written in a more object-oriented style, one which was a program, an array program, in a more of a procedural style. We also went through for chapter 8, which was what we just did. I went through the palindrome program. As far as what's left, I've already done recursion. In the next chapter, I'm going to add 1 or 2, depending on what I want to do, more classes. So instead of a payroll, I'm going to make probably an hourly payroll and a piecework payroll, and those will both inherit from payroll. Then we'll come in here and we'll make some exceptions and look at some advanced file I/O with the payroll program. So both of these 9 and 10 will be payroll. 11 will not be the payroll. I'm going to replicate the program that's at the end of chapter 11 in your textbook, and that program that's at the end of chapter 11, that's going to be the Brandy's Bagel, okay? Chapter 12, I may go back to the payroll program. I may do another GUI one. I don't know. Chapter 13, I'm probably going to do what's called a temperature program for you, so it looks like a thermometer. Chapter 14, I'm going to do a simple calculator program, but